Yeah. You know, Tom, your background in data science and Benny, technology integrator extraordinaire, I think, you'll find this next little bit of statistics interesting. So this one, source of survey done by MuleSoft, also on ZDNet. In addition to IT, which groups or roles within an organization have integration needs? So we're thinking about technology and data integration, things like that. The biggest one, 40% business analysts. After that, 30% data science, and then customer support after that. There's a lot of other ones like finance and marketing, and it kind of continues on down. But engineering being like near closer to the bottom of the list, which I think is fascinating to me. I typically think, oh, technology. Well, it's the engineers are doing stuff, but at the top of the list are these people who are apparently crunching data and analyzing data and I imagine probably towards strategy. I mean, do you kind of see that play out like that, Benny, when you're kind of looking at how you're doing kind of integration solutions for clients?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd like to say a report too as well. Yeah, anything that's going to be touching numbers and any analytics that are associated with it, we're seeing a lot of customer requests to, how can I, bring some of this information? How can I get very detailed information about processes that, we didn't know about? You think about stuff like, say, marketing in if you will, the old days of marketing. People just kind of used to throw money at advertising without really understanding what was the value, what was the return on stuff like that. And you see technology making that a big shift because they want to know for every dollar that I spend, can I get 3, 5, 10 times the return on that dollar? And when it comes to some of the basic processes that are, that can be somewhat automated or, whole departments that were being asked to help streamline some of these efficiencies. Some of these things that we traditionally look at from a numbers perspective, that's easy. Things that are becoming more, that involve more creativity. And it's funny that you said engineering. Engineering is still very intensive from the individual, and them being able to have to kind of make some of those changes and whatnot. So, but along the way, I find with a lot of the businesses that we talk to, a lot of the elements, there's very few areas within discussion that people aren't saying, hey, how can I bring technology to make this better for whatever department they happen to be in?
Yeah. Constant improvement. That's kind of like the corollary to constant change, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Tom, you're big on data. I mean, data's in the name of your company, Denverdata Web. So, what are the things that you've seen in terms of, integrative capabilities or, access to data, how it's shaped marketing, even like digital marketing, because that's a big thing for the team. What's gotten you most excited?
I love data, and anything about data excites me. But this particular topic is really exciting for me. Benny made a really good point. About the data, that there's a lot more data and a lot more data available that a business owner can leverage to catapult their business forward. In the past, it wasn't easy. You'd have the magazines. You'd see an ad. To Benny's point, you would get a little card in the magazine that you could click on. You could tick off the page number that you saw the ad on. And that was their best feedback mechanism for who really saw it and how many people they were getting through to. And it was not effective at all. And now you can literally see how many people looked at your ad, how many people engaged with it, what they did once they engaged with it, and whether that led to solid return on investment. And so it's definitely a different world where there is a lot of really cool, there's a lot of great information that helps you steer. And not only is it cool, but it puts you at an advantage relative to the other people that would rather not embrace these things that feel painful.
And some of the stuff, I think, Benny, you probably see a lot of these things. So, definitely from our standpoint, we really love, let's say, when we're working on digital advertising or things like that, the data capabilities, it's a big piece of that, right? So we can make informed decisions that fit to the strategy that we want to see play out for people to trying to grow revenue and stuff. But, you probably see a little bit more of kind of like the tangible real world things, like in the actual storefront. Benny, I imagine you've seen some of the newer things that are capable nowadays. I don't know, with cameras and monitoring and ties into metrics and stuff, right? I mean, what's some of the coolest stuff you've seen happening there that seems to be making a big impact?
Yeah, it's funny. A couple of different trends that we're seeing, and you all aren't going to be strangers to this whole idea. The idea of like owning and having certain software or possessing those type of things. That kind of idea is starting to move to the side a little bit. Certainly there are certain things that people need to have, but we're seeing the as a services type of platforms really making a huge difference, right? You heard the original term maybe as software as a service, but there's so many buzzwords that have kind of co-opted that whole as a service type of thing. So from the good side, we talk about like unified communications as a service, or even security as a service. So all those type of things are really important. I'm seeing a lot of those trends happen. We're also seeing a lot of things, and a lot of what we talk about, and the key thing that I talk about is we do technical integration for firms. So a lot of things because this goes back to a point that Tom made in terms of what are we seeing down the road. It's tough to say exactly all the type of things, but a lot of what we see is that people want to combine different technologies together. So to your point, we have the ability to monitor if you have a retail store, if you have several retail stores, you want to kind of see what everyone's doing at any given time. But to have as a unified, only one thing, I want to look at the security cameras and be able to provide that data to understand if someone's robbing me or not. Well, why don't you use that to see what the heat maps within your store look like? Where are people spending the most time within your store, and how much time are they spending in this section? Well, maybe I should move my inventory, right? So that I can encourage people to move to the back of the store and buy stuff as they go through it. And going beyond that, you can use it for metrics to understand, even like employees, are they maybe goofing off too much and spending too much time in the break room? All this type of stuff that you can kind of cross integrate together and be able to bring into the fold. And so a lot of the things that we talk about in the term API, so that we can connect these type of things. People are asking about any service that I subscribe to needs to have some type of API available that we can write code to or we can plug into.
APIs for everything.
Yeah,
That's the key to the future.
Everything.
Heat maps for people in your store. I mean, Tom, when we're doing digital strategy, we employ heat map tools all the time. Understand how people are operating on your webpage. But the idea of heat maps in the store, I'm getting some kind of like, Predator vibe here. It's like from the movie, back.
I love it in principle, not the Big Brother nature of it, but the beauty of data is that if you collect it, you could use it later for things you never imagined that you were going to use it for. You don't have to know what you're going to get out of it today to get good value out of it. And right now, with the digital transformation, there's a lot of data being collected, more than anybody's going to use. But if to Benny's point, if you are collecting video, if you're collecting video content, and storage is proven to not. Availability of storage has grown faster than our ability to use it. Mm-hmm. So it's relatively cheap that data can be held onto, so that you can do that analysis later. And we see that with a lot of different stuff where there's a lot of great data that if you hold on to it, you will eventually be able to get answers out of it that you never thought you would have wanted to ask.
Absolutely.
Well, all I know is some post-human alien's going to be looking at my videos 1,000 years from now, wondering, wow, how did we survive?
Hi, this is Sarah from Denverdata Web. Thanks for watching. Please like our video and subscribe for future digital strategy chats. You can also visit our website at denverdata.com or find us on social media at Denverdata Web.